Hello there swimmers, welcome to Subnautica 2. The creators behind the best thalassophobia simulator of 2018 are back, giving us a brand new world in which to experience the horrors of exploring the ocean on an alien planet. Again. I mean, we were meant to head to a desert world for goodness sake this time, but looks like our terror ship design was contracted out to Boeing. Again. As for the story, I'm not going to intentionally spoil it, but I am going to travel to some of the later areas of the map, so if you want to avoid any environmental spoilers, click off now. Everyone good? Alright, let us begin. My Subnautica 2 experience started with a beautiful, albeit slightly laggy, introduction to the world, some obvious exposition from our AI companion.
You are not on Caesura, Pioneer.
No shit. And me spending about 2 hours swimming around in circles looking for silver. No, not her. At the end of my 3-hour initial session, I built a small base close to where I started, and listened to Declan being aggressively assaulted by peanuts and dogs.
Bro, that thing is so fucking...
Listen, I haven't played any of the SCP games. Anyway, I decided to move my base to this small outcrop so that I would be closer to what looked like the next area of the game. It took a bit of time to move everything from the old location to the new spot, but eventually I had a permanent base set up. And with that, I set off to this waypoint in order to progress on the main story.
Detecting powered fabricator systems and construction materials. Advise construction of a regional base camp.
You're joking, right? I just set up that base, and I am in no mood to move it over to this side of the map. But wizard, it's only a few hundred meters. Surely it's not that bad. Listen here, boyo. I would move my base if it weren't for one teeny problem. You see this gap between my base and this place? It is patrolled by this motherfucker.
Hey.
What the hell is that?
That, my dear viewers, is the Collector Leviathan. He is a curious individual who has nothing better in life to do than to move up and down this channel, putting the fear of God into whoever is stupid enough to try crossing it. And I mean also try and eat you, but that's a minor detail. Due to our lack of sonar, we have to rely on direct contact to see him. This would mean that our transfer of materials will be limited to daylight hours, as well as our inventory size. Lest I want to shorten my life by several decades due to heart-related complications. What the? This will simply not do. Therefore, I have a plan. To the design board! Instead of deconstructing our base and moving it across, why not spend several hours building a tunnel from one side of the channel to the other? To build the tunnel, we will construct 2 larger rooms above and below our waterway, and have 2 smaller rooms sealed off the flanks. Hopefully, they are all thick enough so that the creature can't end up clipping through the structure. For our starting location, I have scouted out this point opposite the chasm. This place has a lot of thermal vents, so our energy is going to be free and easily accessible. Construction got off to a somewhat shaky start.
Frijoles y descubrí que Club Penguin todavía está vivo. Me reí mucho y busqué frijoles, pero no pude encontrar mis dedos y envié mis pies a buscarlos, pero encontré...
However, before I wanted to begin full construction, I would need some better equipment. Notably, the chassis for a tadpole that would give it a storage compartment, allowing us to transport more materials to our construction site. One of the ingredients necessary for the chassis is enameled glass, which is made from glass and animal enamel. Jesus, try saying that 10 times fast. Glass is easy to make, but the animal enamel could only be found on the opposite side of the chasm. Oh, you have got to be shitting me. So I made my way over to the other side of the chasm, set up a forward operating base with a scanner, powered it by the nearby currents, located the enamel, scanned it, blasted, and yoinked it in the dead of night. Back at the main base, I crafted all the necessary parts for the upgrades I wanted, and built both the chassis and the depth upgrade for the tadpole. What follows next is a multi-hour long back and forth where I would collect some titanium, drop it off at the construction site, get more, pass by the main base to refuel, build out a little, run out of materials, and repeat. And before I knew it, we had reached the other side. However, we had a problem. You see, this bit of land that meets our tunnel is still a bit too far out, meaning our dear squid friend over there would have no problem catching us, especially with our storage chassis slowing us down. Thus, we had to add a small L curve to skip around this section. And with that, phase 1 was mostly complete. I ran back to the start of the base and set course for the shadows to refill on titanium so as to begin phase 2. Phase 2 of the tunnel is building out the walls of our structure, which are 2 parallel rooms that run just outside of the main block we built first. You may notice that I started by building them out as a connected piece before branching them into 2 separate directions. This was a terrible mistake. Because the tunnels are much smaller than the main room, we can achieve a much longer distance on the same amount of titanium as we did from the initial build. However, we would still require multiple refills, especially since we are building 2 of these side tunnels. Eventually, I reached the end of the first part of the tunnel and noticed something a bit disturbing. We seem to be on level here with that piece of land, and we would need to build a tunnel on the other side as well. Wanting to catch this early, I ran all the way back to the beginning of the tunnel and started building the south-facing wall. Even with over 90 pieces of titanium, which represents 3 completely stacked lockers, I wasn't able to reach the other side. But I did make it quite close. Quite close is not there yet, so time for another titanium resupply. 26 minutes later, plus 1 marrow breach jump scare, I was fully restocked with 130 pieces of titanium. Reaching that bit of land that was extruding a bit from the other side of the chasm, I could very clearly see that our base was overextending by a considerable amount. So I found the minimum distance I could pass within the shelf and built out a bit so that I would know what to correct for in the main tunnel section. Also, the Leviathan just disappeared between the 2 builds. I don't know where he went. After making my way back into the main tunnel, I was faced with a new problem: deconstructing the wall. Ordinarily, this wouldn't be a problem. However, due to the sheer size of this base, the game would take a while to register the deconstruction. Additionally, sometimes it would randomly forget it was connected to the rest of the base and disconnect from the power grid, meaning no oxygen. Fixing that problem wasn't so hard, I just needed to walk back a few paces and it would suddenly remember it was part of a bigger structure. After a brief restock of food, water and titanium, and an additional 49 minutes of my life, the room was finally back to the desired size. Yes. But we still had work to do, so I pressed on. After nearly 5 hours since construction first began, plus a titanium run where this guy tried to give me a ticket for parking my tadpole incorrectly, and we had fully completed the first part of the tunnel. With that, I stopped for the afternoon and did something else for the rest of the day. Late that night, I decided to take the opportunity to share my progress with some of my friends, and that's when I discovered it.
Oh my fucking lord. What the fuck did you do?
You see, in Subnautica 2, you can stand in partially constructed base pieces. This helps a lot in getting an idea of what something will look like without having to construct it entirely, notice it looks like shit, and then deconstruct it, only to move it 2 units to the right. So while showing my friends the squid in all of his glory in one of these partially constructed base pieces, this happened. And I'll show you. What the? That's right. When the Leviathan crosses through the base, it will automatically finish any base piece instantly and for free, even if you do not have the materials to build it. Essentially, it is a free resource generator, an infinite money glitch, if you wish. I should mention that it's not all the base pieces, only the main structural components, so windows, walls, dividers, all of those are built for free, but things like lights, fabricators and lockers will have the opposite effect. They are eaten for free, you don't get any refunds. Unknown worlds, please fix. While this exploit isn't reliable to get resources out, it does help with one of the phases I had in mind for this project. One of the plans I had was to set up a bunch of windows so you could see the Leviathan as you made your way through the tunnel. I was mentally preparing myself to have to mine up all the quartz and all the salt on the map to build the glass necessary for this, but thanks to this glitch, I could just place down the window frames, have the Leviathan pass through, and he will construct it all for me. Anyway, we can now move on to the last construction phase of the project, the floor of the tunnel. Nothing really interesting happened during the building process besides this odd event during a titanium run. After an hour and a half construction, I have successfully built the first bit of floor that stretches from the beginning of the base up to the beginning of the L curve we constructed earlier. It was here that I decided that a test run of the tunnel was needed. That way I could decide if it was worth trying to continue this project further with the current design. After a quick jog back to the start of the facility, I set about splitting the 2 rooms that make up the north and south walls of the tunnel so that we could get the vehicle into the tunnel. Just need to What about... No, oh no. To my absolute horror, I learned that you cannot split up a single room into two of them in this game. This means that there is no way to get the vehicle inside the tunnel on this side of the map. In order to get it there, I would need to deconstruct one of the walls of the tunnel all the way back to the start. It took me over an hour to remove all the pieces of the base, mostly because the game would take around 5 seconds to register that a piece was deconstructed before letting me deconstruct the next part. After that, I sleep. Alright, time to finish this tunnel. The objective for today is to fully complete the tunnel, or at least complete a significant portion of it. I was able to complete the rest of the base within the next hour or so of construction. It wasn't a full completion, I left out quite a bit of space, but that's because I decided at this point, at this distance, it was time to test the tunnel. I decided to head back to the main base to restock on food and water, and to change the chassis of the Tadpole to that of the Scout variant. If something goes wrong, I want to be fast. While there, I also took the opportunity to craft one of the armor modules for the vehicle, just in case. Fully repaired, resupplied with food and water, and kitted out with the Scout chassis, it was time. I lined up at the beginning of the tunnel, and... yeah, let's wait until morning. While waiting for daylight to break, I decided to have Jessica watch over the moonpool lane. She's Jeff's twin sister, the guy who sits looking out into the deep waters from my main base.
My name is Jeff.
And soon enough, the lights started to illuminate the dark water surrounding me, revealing the Leviathan swimming around the north side of my tunnel. There was no more delaying. It was time.
3, 2, 1. Go!
Fellas, we did it. Nearly 12.5 hours since we placed the first base piece, we had successfully built a tunnel that ignored the Leviathan entirely, and discovered an infinite money glitch, but that's not really important. All that was left to do now was head towards that black box and figure out what was over there.
Extracting metal from seawater could provide renewable resources for massive construction projects in Agony.
Well,